talking to me in that tone? I'm already in pain and you're upset. I didn't realise like I did that. It can be uncomfortable, right? It can be so uncomfortable, and then you have to address it and understand. Assalamu alaikum, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a big welcome. This is the third time that I'm filming this video. I don't know why, I just cannot get it right, but as you can tell from the title, it is 4 lessons that I have learned in 2 years of marriage. On the 22nd of December 2018 was the date that my husband and I signed our Iqra documents and started this crazy journey called marriage together, Alhamdulillah. We were 23 years old back then, we are now 25, and I feel like we have grown up tremendously in the last 2 years, and I also feel like the first year's the hardest is not accurate actually. Well, for us, I feel like the first year and a half were the absolute hardest, or maybe like the first half of the first year wasn't that hard, but then after that first half, then it became hard, that part, do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense, but anyway, I've got my Dangerously Good Ideas book here, and the reason why I've had to refilm this so many times is because I've gone into different video topics. I've started talking about how to deal with arguments in marriage, and how, about this book that I'm reading right now for Iqra's book club. And no, I need to stay focused and I need to stick to my points. So as we, Alhamdulillah, had our 2nd anniversary and we managed to squeeze in a meal just before the lockdown timing in a gorgeous restaurant in Dundee called Giddy Grill, I was just sat there reflecting upon our marriage actually, and how, Alhamdulillah, although he's just called me now and totally thrown me off track. So yeah, I was just thinking, wow, like Alhamdulillah, we've made it to 2 years. And I've spoken about this before, but I just think that marriage amongst Muslim social media, and this video, by the way, is for anyone who wants to watch it, but I'm primarily talking to Muslim females. That's like my demographics, the majority of people who watch my videos. I just feel like marriage is humongously romanticized on social media. I don't know if you guys agree, let me know down below, but I just feel like anytime you even go on the Explore page, it's just pictures and pictures of adorable, mashallah, mashallah, Allahumma barik, couples looking so cute on their wedding day, on their honeymoons, on date nights, and it's like, that's lovely, but I really value the few bloggers out there who are able to be open and honest about marriage. People like Look a Million and like Dina Tokyo, anyone who's like real and raw, I appreciate them. For us, we've been married for 2 years, Alhamdulillah. I've spoken about it quite openly on my channel. I've actually got a playlist about marriage. I'll leave that down below. We've had some, Alhamdulillah, amazing moments. We've travelled loads, especially in 2019, obviously. And we've had some just gorgeous, gorgeous memories made together. But equally in the same breath, we've had some really difficult times, some very challenging situations to get through, some horrendous arguments, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but I might do a how to deal with arguments in marriage video if that's something that you guys would like to see. But yeah, the first lesson that I have written down here is men and women are so incredibly different. And look, listen, hear me out. I know that's an obvious one, but apart from the biological, okay, we are just built differently. Like, our brains are built differently. We are not the same. And it took me a while to understand that, wow, he's such a man. And I guess I'm such a woman. You start seeing bits of your mum in you and your dad's in your husband, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just the way it is. And that's my advice here, is that you kind of just have to accept it. You are different. Now, the biggest mistake you can make, I think, is knowing what you're getting into with someone personality-wise or characteristics-wise, and thinking that you are going to go into a marriage and drastically change them. No, Alhamdulillah, that wasn't the case for us. I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to change Waqar and da, da, da. But okay, let me not even talk about Waqar for a second. Let me talk about myself. I am a clean person, but I do get cluttered, and I'm quite messy. And I kind of in my head thought, well, when I get married, it's all going to be different. I'm going to be a different person, and you know what? That doesn't happen. That doesn't actually change. You have to change yourself. And in the same breath, if there's a flaw in your partner's characteristics, which there's gonna be because there's flaws in yours, they have to want to change themselves. But ultimately, men and women are two very different species, in my opinion. And I've learned the hard way that you've got to pick your battles. I think especially towards the start, once that, like, I'm not even gonna call it honeymoon phase, because Alhamdulillah, I feel like we're back in our honeymoon phase again. So I feel like honeymoon phase can go up and down in a marriage, and that's kind of, you know, that's healthy. But I'm gonna say, like, once that initial shock factor of we're married has wear down, you get back into routine, suddenly you're living with someone for the first time, you're living with someone of the opposite sex in the same room for the first time, you're sharing a bed maybe for the first time, but definitely with the opposite sex for the first time, and you are sharing like wardrobe space and, you know, sharing so much. Whereas before, you were an individual, they were an individual, and you had your own space, you had your own way of doing things, you had your own time. Time, you guys, time. That's something I didn't realize would change so much after marriage, is your timings have to change. They have to fit around you and your husband. It's not just about your timings. You've got to fit around your husband too. Otherwise, you might not ever see them if they do totally different hours of work to you. It's not just about gender. I'm talking about their upbringing is going to be different to yours. Their rules would have been different to yours as kids. Sometimes their values and morals may be different to yours. I mean, hopefully before you get married, you can kind of understand what their values and morals are, and what's important to them in life. And, you know, you can kind of get a good understanding of, well, can I see myself actually putting a life with this person? But still, it's only when you actually live with someone that you truly get to know them, and that is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It doesn't matter how well you think you know someone before you get married. Once you live with them is once you really learn about them, and you see them at their best and you see them at their absolute worst, and you love them anyway, because that's what marriage is, hopefully, inshallah. So yeah, I just think it's one of those things we have to accept and try not to let it frustrate you, and don't sweat the small stuff. So number 2, my second lesson that I've learned in my 2 years of marriage is, as important as it is to pour love into your marriage, it's more important, just maybe this much, but it is still more important to pour love into yourself first. And I'm not going to talk too much on this point because I've done a whole video about lockdown versus marriage and how it really pushed Iqra and I apart, and how we really struggled. Essentially, I was relying far too much on Iqra for happiness. You know, I had moved to Dundee, and like by this point had settled in, but was looking for work, and a lot of the times Iqra and I before lockdown would hang out together, and we'd hang out with his friends, and it was lovely. And like, I see his friends as my friends now as well, and it's really nice. Like, they see me like as a sister, and like we can all sit and chat, and they're really respectful, they're really lovely people, right? So I see them as friends. But obviously when lockdown happened, we couldn't see our friends anymore. We were stuck in the same place together. It was hard. It was really hard. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it. But essentially what I realised after some time apart, which is what we needed, was that I was literally building my whole day around him. And if he wasn't like there for some reason, I'd get so upset, as if I didn't have my own things to focus on and to work toward. You were a person before you got married, and you're still a person in your own right now you're married. And it's so important to put time into your marriage, not get me wrong. I think that's where people go wrong, is where, you know, they're first really close and sweet and close together, and they're really lovey-dovey, and then they just go back to their own individual lives in a way, and they don't build in time for each other. That's what you've got to figure out together as a couple. Like, is it one weekly date night and then 2 evenings together watching the same program, or is it going for a walk in the mornings together, or is it cooking dinner together? Whatever it is, you've got to figure it out. But you have to put time into your marriage. What I'm trying to say is that if you're not focusing on stuff for yourself, if you're not putting yourself as a priority as well, then your marriage is probably going to crumble. And that's what I learned the hard way, and it was not a nice lesson to go through. But when I like sort of woke up from this bubble, I was like, there's so many other things that Iqra, you need to be focusing on. And actually I started Quran journaling, and I feel really bad because I need to get back to that. But learning and reading, and especially reading the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that really helped me, because it gave me another sense of purpose. And then just relying heavily on Iqra to be the sun, the stars, and the moon. Like, no one can do that. I can't do that for him, so I don't know why I was expecting him to do that for me. When I think back to myself at that time, I cringe and I feel sorry for myself, and I'm so disappointed in myself. But I think it's really important that you have to bear in mind, whether you're married or not, or you're about to get married, or you're getting married in the future, whatever it is, like you need to maintain your own sense of identity, and your identity shouldn't just be wife of so-and-so, or mother of so-and-so. And I know it's obviously harder when you're a mum because your baby and your toddler or your kid is depending on you, but especially when you're a wife, that man's not depending on you, that man's depending on you to be his wife, not X, Y, Z and a wife, So you need to do things for yourself. Further your education, start reading again, start sewing, learn a new hobby, spend more time with your own friends, do things for yourself that fill you up, that fill up your cup, so you can help to fill your marriage cup up as well. Because if you are empty, and it's such a cliche saying, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're empty, you can't pour anything into that marriage, and then your partner's going to be overspilling and not being able to cope either. So that's my second point. Third lesson in the last 2 years is really, really important as well. And it's that communication is super important, but so is comprehension, and they're very different things. Communication and comprehension are both key to a healthy marriage, in my opinion. Everyone says communication is key, you gotta communicate, you gotta communicate, you gotta communicate. But there's zero point in communicating if you're not wanting to comprehend what your partner is saying. And this is definitely most is talking in the standpoint of an arguments perspective. So I'm not going to go too much into it, because if we want a video on arguments, I'll do that. If, for example, Iqra and I are having an argument and we're both heated up, we're both determined that we are right and the other person's wrong, the listening skills are not there, the wanting to understand is not there, the wanting to comprehend is not there. It's just, I'm going to communicate to you what you're doing which is wrong, which has upset me. And so many times Iqra and I would get into this vicious circle of that, basically over and over and over again. And Alhamdulillah, our arguments were never about anything serious. I'm saying this because we would just argue so much so that it would feel like, what is actually the purpose of this marriage? Because all we do is argue. And it's because we weren't really willing to actually comprehend, to stop, put our egos to the side and listen. All we wanted to do was talk, communicate. And literally at the time we were both like, yeah, we're communicating, we're talking, we're trying to solve it. But what we were actually doing was just talking at each other and not listening to each other. So within a marriage, there are going to be times where you're going to disagree. There's not a single marriage where you don't argue. A lot of the times arguments only happen because there's care there and there's love there. Sometimes it's other reasons, because that person might actually be toxic, that person might be controlling, whatever. I'm not talking about the extreme side of things. I'm talking about in a healthy, loving marriage, an argument can happen because there's care there. Right? For example, I needed to book a doctor's appointment for a while now because the patch of my dermatitis is causing me so much pain that I'm constantly actually in pain. My skin is bleeding. And guy got really annoyed at me the other day. He's like, why are you not booking an appointment? I just went into sensitive mode and was like, why are you having a go at me? And he was like, Iqra, you're the only one who can book yourself an appointment. You know what to do. Why are you not doing it? And ultimately, if you think about that, the reason why he was saying that was because he cares, and he's upset to see me in so much pain, and also he's frustrated because I'm not dealing with it as an adult should. But in my perspective was like, why are you talking to me in that tone? I'm already in pain and you're upset. Do you see what I mean? So it is about communication. And then what I guess in a calmer moment I would have said to him afterwards, babe, I really appreciate your concern and thank you for reminding me to book an appointment. And I did book an appointment after that discussion, and it was great because I got my appointment and my medication should be coming tomorrow. But I think then what I would then say afterwards is, I just appreciate if you said it a bit calmer, or next time you said it in a bit of a loving way. And yeah, we'll see what he says to that. I haven't said that to him yet, but I'm just trying to explain to you, a lot of the times arguments stem from a place of care and love, but they often are communicated in the wrong way, and then that's why it becomes an argument which doesn't need to be. And that's something that you do as time goes on. I've just learned, and I've seen it in Iqra and myself, that so many times we've stopped arguments from happening that happened previously because we've remembered, when this has happened and they're in this mood, that's triggered this, so let me just stop. You understand, you start learning how the other person's going to react, you start learning, you know, if they're angry, this is what I should do, if they're upset, this is what I should do. And sometimes you have to communicate that to them. Like, this is what I mean, going back to the first point, when men and women are so different. When I would sometimes just cry because, you know, I don't know about all you women, but sometimes I can get very emotional. I'm such an empath. I hold things in. If someone else is feeling upset, subconsciously I feel upset, and then it just overloads and I cry. For me, crying is really healing. But Iqra just like, he could not understand that towards the start of our marriage, and he would ask me like 1,000 times, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why are you crying? What can I do? How can I help? And like in his head it was like, I need to fix it. She's crying and I need to fix it. And for me it's like, I'm just sad. Can you just understand that I'm sad and I just need to like let it out, you know? And not every woman's like that, and not every man would respond the way Iqra is. And then it's funny because like later on down the line, like a year and a bit later, now Iqra is like, you just sort of like side eyes me sometimes when I'm crying. I don't know what to do. I know I shouldn't be asking 1,000 times, but like I also don't know what to do. So I've communicated to him, you know what, if I'm crying, like what I actually really want, if you're in the room, is for you to just put your arm around me, or to just hold my hand, or just to be there. And actually I don't really want you to ask me 101 questions. I just want to know that you're there. And we're getting there. So the first couple of years of marriage, you guys, you're learning each other, you're understanding each other. There's so many new emotions, there's so many new experiences happening. It's a lot, and you got to learn each other as well, basically. So in order to learn each other and to understand each other, you have to be willing to comprehend and not just communicate. Like, comprehension is key. And then my fourth and final point, I'm going to keep it short and sweet now, is it's not easy, but it can be so worth it. We've had some pretty difficult times, but I think what you've got to understand from a Muslim perspective is that marriage and getting married is completing half your deen, and that's not going to come easy. That is going to be a test, and everyone is tested in different ways through their marriage. Just because you see every other couple around you smiling, laughing, sharing their best highlight reels on Instagram, does not mean that they're not having a similar situation to you at home. So please do not compare your marriage to whatever you see online. I can guarantee you, people share 2% of their lives, and the 98%, you know, you've got no idea about. Every single couple argues, but the strong couples, the couples who are willing to like work through it, are the ones who are willing to put their ego down, to calm their anger, and to really understand, listen, and work on each other and work on themselves. Like I said right at the start of this video, you're going to understand so many different things about yourself once you get married, and some things you're not gonna like some things I'm like, I didn't realize like I did that, and like it can be uncomfortable, right? It can be so uncomfortable, and then you have to address it and understand. You have to decide, like, do I want to change this? Do I want to slowly start working on this? What am I going to do about this? And vice versa. And it does have to be a give and take thing. Like, it shouldn't just be one person sort of fighting for the marriage or working hard to be a better spouse or a better individual in the marriage, and the other person's kind of going the other way. You've got to kind of be on an even playing field. And I think, you know, if marriage was easy, there'd be no such thing as divorce. But divorce, at the end of the day, it's the least liked act, but it is halal. It's acceptable, and that's because sometimes marriages break down. And I think at any point where you feel like you're being completely disrespected, or you're threatened, you know, you're being physically hurt, or you're being emotionally abused, or anything like that, like, I know that seems simple to say, but cut it out. Tell someone straight away, seek help, do not bottle it in, because a lot of the times you read about these cases where your spouse can be so manipulative, or especially narcissists. Oh my gosh, I've been like, I don't know if you guys watch Harush, but she was talking about her ex-boyfriend and how much of a narcissist he was, to the point where he was actually end up breaking her down to the point where he was beating her up. And that blows my mind, because if you were to see her in any other setting, she seems so strong, so independent, so fierce. So it's like, how can a person do that? But it's like, it happens all the time, and that's a scary thing. So what, I guess I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like, if you feel uncomfortable, threatened, scared, at any point, then you need to communicate that and get out of that marriage ASAP. It's the best thing for you, it's the best thing, you know, for the people around you. But if it's a case of you're just clashing, it's nothing dangerous, it's just you're struggling to communicate properly and comprehend each other, but you still want similar things and you still care for each other, but it's just going wrong. Trust me, there are ways out of it, and especially from an Islamic perspective, yeah, I think I could go on and on about this topic for hours and hours, and I don't want these videos to be too long, but let me know what you guys would like to see down below, and if you found this video interesting or helpful, please let me know. And also, do let me know if you're married or not, what your opinions are, what your thoughts are. If you are married, what are some things you've learned about married life? And also, jot that down in the comments below. I love having discussions with you guys on these videos. They are so interesting and insightful. And yeah, let's talk about the ups and downs of marriage more. Like, I think so many people talk about the ups, alhamdulillah, and it's a beautiful thing, but the downs are also a part of marriage. And one thing that I think I read or heard recently was, you know, at the end of the day, getting married is a choice. You choose who you're going to marry. Your choice is to get married, you choose, and staying married is a choice too. Those are all choices that we make. So ultimately, we've got to wake up every day and you've got to choose your spouse. You've got to figure out like how to keep that marriage alive, keep that marriage going. And it's a lot sometimes. And then I look at people who've got kids as well, and I'm like, damn, woman, man, you guys are killing it. You know, it's not easy, but I think the first couple of years, they are just gonna be like this, up and down, and some people will have years like this. It's whatever Allah's written for you at the end of the day, but you've got to take responsibility for yourself and yourself only. And yeah, reach out to people, talk to people that you trust. Just always pray as well. I think making dua is so important. Like, make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with a spouse who's always got a soft heart for you. When you're having problems, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, that's so key. Well, obviously you should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anyway, but especially like when you feel so disheartened and so down, for example, when you've had a really horrible argument or whatever, Allah Ta'ala's there, Allah Ta'ala's watching, Allah Ta'ala's there, and you know, you can turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, those are my 4 lessons learnt from my first 2 years of marriage. Inshallah, God willing, if I'm still on this planet, then I will be back next year to talk about the 3rd year. I feel like we have gotten through that turbulent, the hardest first year of marriage part. I'm sure we've got loads of lessons to learn still, but yeah, I feel really blessed and grateful to be where we are at right now. Anyway, I need to get my coat on and my jeans, got my pajamas on right now, and yeah, do a little bit of a grocery shop. So I'll see you guys very soon in my next video. Take care, guys, and I hope you're having a good start to 2021. Bye!